This is the exciting bit.
It is exciting.
We can finally tell you what the most exciting thing is that we're about to do on the land.
And a pond in at the fruit forest, which we'll tell you about shortly when we go into the fruit forest. In other exciting news, which we'll tell you more about at a later date, we've got a tractor sponsorship. Morning, and welcome back again to the Wildlands. So in today's video, we're going to look at what we've got wrong over the past year and also our plans on the land going forward from what we've learnt from the last year.
Learnt a lot.
We have learnt a lot, so enjoy tonight's video. In July 2021, with the increase in travel restrictions caused by Brexit and the pandemic, we decided to buy off-grid land in Portugal to live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Follow along with our journey as we turn our beautiful but derelict land into our very own slice of off-grid heaven. Wildlands.
So those of you that have watched our videos for a year or more will remember that on my right, when we arrived at the Wildlands, we parked at the entrance because behind us here was all overgrown and we couldn't get in. As you come into the land, this plot here, which is a small plot, you may also remember we were trying to buy that, but that wasn't successful, so that doesn't belong to us. It's just a tiny olive grove, but this side here does belong to us, so we've got big plans going forward. So let us show you what our plans is for this little plot here. So the plan is this slope here is not too dramatic, so we're going to clear that, and then we're going to create a track here that goes into the middle of this plot, and then we're going to wood chip it, and we're going to have a long-term park up here.
Just a single one van only.
So it'll be a private park up for somebody that's looking to stay somewhere for a week or a month or even longer, and it will have a little parking area that will all be nicely wood chipped and landscaped, and a little picnic bench and somewhere where a person or a family can sit and have their dinner in a quiet area away from the main part of the Wildlands. And the track here is the entrance to the land.
So the nice thing about this spot is that you'd be able to come and go without ever having to go down and be with the rest of the people. For somebody that maybe wanted a bit more peace, you've got some nice boulders at the end, you've got plenty of shade from the sun with all the olive trees. It's quite a nice little private spot, really.
It is, and it's very flat, so it's lovely for a van. So where this little bush is, this will be the park up, and the idea is that this little park up will suit somebody. Maybe they're coming into the area to look for land and they need a couple of weeks or a couple of months somewhere safe and quiet to park up while they look for land, or maybe you're coming over on a holiday, or ideally could also suit a digital nomad, because we're putting Starlink in, which we'll tell you more about later, so that we can offer high-speed internet as a facility to people coming to help us on the land or visiting the land or staying on this park up. So it's all very exciting. So it's not a great deal of work, so we just need to landscape it, clear out some of the detritus off the top and all the leaves and branches.
Beautiful cork oak here, just on the entrance, trim a few branches off that.
Yeah, easy access right to the track. So that'll be exciting.
Job number one.
Job number one. And then coming down the entrance of our track, we've got our rather untidy compost section on the right. And then on the left, you'll remember, was where Martin's garden was.
Martin stayed with us for 8 months. So in that time, we asked him if he fancied having a little garden, because he loves a bit of gardening. And this is the area that he had. And he successfully grew loads of great stuff, didn't he? Cabbages and cauliflowers and all sorts of stuff. He's moved on now. So we're going to turn this into another park up rather than a garden. Because although he had success, it does get an awful lot of sunshine.
It's very sunny here.
So it's not so easy to grow.
So it's almost flat, but it's slightly lower than the level of the track.
Yeah.
In other exciting news, which we'll tell you more about at a later date, we've got a tractor sponsorship for a month. So when that arrives, which is probably in about 6 weeks, we're going to level this, put gravel down like the rest of the drive, and then it's a good park up for a medium to small size van.
Yep.
Because we've worked out, obviously now that we've been here, when Frank the digger came and made our drive and our park up, we were obviously guessing how it would work to a point.
Yeah.
And this is an ideal place for a park up.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you came in and you had your sliding door on that side, then you've got a view of just an olive grove where nobody ever goes, so that's all nice and peaceful. Chickens just through there, and room that you could have a little seating area here maybe,
as well,
as well as being able to to park your van.
So another job, making a park up here.
Job number 2.
Yep, and the jobs are not in order.
No.
But it is job number 2. So more park ups.
This is a park up that already existed. This is where Martin used to park. And since he's been gone, we've been using it more like a storage kind of facility. So under this massive tarp pile here, we've got a load of Frank's horse's manure, and it's supposed to be rotting down under there. And that's going to go down to the fruit forest. I estimate it's probably about 20 wheelbarrows, maybe 30 wheelbarrows. So that's a fun job. Got some sand at the back, which is being used for building and for the chickens. Got some straw back here, we've been using for mulching and for the chickens as well. It was out here, the barrel before, but we need to get some more in. So we're going to tidy all this away, and then this is another park up for one. You could maybe get a really big one or 2 little ones in here.
So these rickety pallets were Martin's fencing down in his garden, which we obviously took out when Martin's garden was taken down for the new park up. And we're going to recycle or upcycle, however you want to call it, and use these in another one of our builds that we'll tell you about shortly, which is very, very exciting. So we're in the main parking area. The van is just behind the camera, and this is the edge of the new kind of parking ledge that Frank the digger made many, many months ago. And we reckon we can get another metre out here. So again, when we get our tractor in, we're going to extend this a bit because it makes the turning circle, or will make the turning circle slightly easier. And it means then again we've got, although it's already available, a park up here for a van with the door open looking out over here. And we've put a hammock down here. So this needs landscaping and clearing. So much clearing to do, isn't there?
This was supposed to be my herb garden. I worked very hard on it, and it turns out that it's just too hot and sunny. It's so exposed. I've managed to just about get 4 different things to grow, and everything else has died in there. So we're going to rip it all out and put a bit more gravel on it, and then it just increases the space that you've got to turn around in your van.
So as you come down the drive behind Mrs. Herb Garden, you've got our secondary parking area, and then behind us we've got where the bathroom and shower build is going, which has been on hold while we clear out the well, hasn't it?
Yes.
And it's just been too hot to work, really. Even just working a couple of hours in the morning, kind of, you can't get into it. It's too hot for the cement to cure, so it's cracking.
Yep.
So bathroom and shower is still a priority, but that's on hold maybe for a month or 2 until the weather cools down. We've got another exciting project which I keep mentioning, which I'm making you wait to find out what it is, because that's our next chore apart from cleaning the well. So you can see the bathroom and shower, which is down there, and then this area here. Originally, when we arrived, we thought this is where we were going to put the fruit forest. It's a little bit slopey. The earth is very poor quality, very hard, because all the water rushes down. So it's taken all the topsoil off. But our plan here is obviously this is going to be kind of between the top of the parking area and the bathroom and the shower there, and Rose's area there. We're going to clear this again. We did clear it when we arrived, but it's all come back up and now died off in the sun. So we're going to terrace this and have a little garden, and then somewhere in the middle we're going to have a arbor, which we're going to make out of rebar and have a kind of arch, and then we can grow things up there, and it'll be a nice area in between the bathroom and shower because it wants to look quite nice, and in between where we currently park. And then again, when the tractor's here, we'll make little terraces so the water doesn't wash all the topsoil away, and then hopefully over time we can turn it into a nice part of the fruit forest. We have also discussed putting a pond in here and a pond in at the fruit forest, which we'll tell you about shortly when we go into the fruit forest. So coming down a little bit further, you can see in a bit more detail the bathroom and shower build. So we got all the holes dug for the stilts. If you remember, you might need to go back and check out the video of what our plans are in this area. So we're going to have a toilet, a bathroom and a pantry, which we discussed in quite a lot of detail in the previous video. So far we've only got these 6 posts in, so we're going to come back to that, as I mentioned earlier, and get that finished off hopefully in the autumn.
The entrance going down to our nursery and then further on to the fruit forest. This is right next door to where Martin's garden was, one of the park ups that we just showed you. Now, Dom said at the beginning that we were going to tell you about some of the mistakes that we made. This was one of them. We didn't know exactly what the sun was going to do, and we've tried to grow tomatoes and tropical plants here, but the sun literally tracks directly across this the whole day. So it skips out the trees that are either side of it, don't cause any shade at all. So we're just trying to grow stuff without enough shade. We're going to learn from that. Next year we're going to plant more trees and more anything tall, sunflowers and bamboos, but we're going to be careful about where we put them, because if you put them here, they put shadow on your smaller plants, so the smaller plants survive. If you put them there, they don't cause any shadow at all. We are actually getting a surprising amount of harvest off of these tomatoes anyway, despite their little curled leaves. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of these little pear-shaped cherry toms, and the strawberries have been putting out as well, so I think with a little bit of added shade, I think they could produce really, really well next year. Another little project that's on the cards is this little area here that looks a bit barren. We're just going to cut away a little bit of the earth up here and bring it down to level it out a bit, and then we're going to turn this into a cactus and succulent garden. We've already got a whole bunch of cacti ready to go in the ground, and it's just so dry and gets so much sun. I think they're absolutely going to love it.
So down at the cold frame area, and you'll remember again if you've watched older videos, these pallets here were put down at the same time as a cold frame ready to put our greenhouse here. And we bought all the wood and the polycarb to make a greenhouse the same style of build as the cold frame. And again, we made a mistake because we thought time of year we wouldn't put the greenhouse up, and then we had a fair bit of rain, so we had nowhere that we could work on the garden, potting up and so on in the dry, because we had no cover. And then in the summer we could have done with converting the greenhouse that would have been here into a shaded area by covering the greenhouse in shade. So although we have all the wood and the polycarb, we've shelved that. I think we may in the short term build more of a shade house structure here and use the polycarb on the roof so that we can work in the rain, but also we can then use that structure in the summer to have a proper shady area, because at the moment you can see we've just got shade material draped over pots and bits of loose wood, and we've got these pallets obviously left on the ground ready levelled. So we'll utilise this area for something, whether we go back and build a greenhouse or whether we build a shade house, we've not yet decided. So we're in the fruit forest. What have we got planned here?
Lots of changes, I think. We've put in very, very big wide paths, and I think they need to be narrowed a bit, and more shade, but strategic shade, so more trees, like we were saying about the other place, more tall plants, because the sun comes across over there, so we need a tree here to put shade behind it, and then all your vegetables back there. And I think a big pond out there in the middle, a clever pond as well, without a liner, and we can always top it up from the well. And I've researched techniques where you can you line your pond with the clay that already exists in the soil. We'll do a whole nother video all about that. But the idea with that is that once you've got a water source here, it's brilliant for the wildlife, will attract even more butterflies and moths and insects and lizards and everybody. They'll be able to come and have a nice drink, but also it puts moisture into the soil. It evaporates during the day and it seeps into the soil slowly, and it creates like a little, what do you call it? A little microclimate of moisture. So that's quite exciting.
It is.
Permaculture technique.
It is, yeah. One thing we mentioned way back was we're not experienced at permaculture, but we've been learning. So the idea with permaculture, or one of the things, is that when you buy land or move on to your land, you should spend about a year just watching it before you do anything.
Yeah.
And we decided that was kind of a bit of a waste of time in some sense, but also not a waste of time, because you definitely need to watch what your land does with water, with floods, with too much sun, not enough sun, too much shade, not enough shade. So what we decided to do was to plant the fruit forest as an experiment, but use it as a learning curve. So essentially we can now look at certain plants and go, right, chickpeas don't grow here, but they grow there. This spot is always too hot, so only certain things or no things grow there, and so on. So we're going to use what we've learnt this year to redesign the fruit forest in the next growing season, so it's very exciting.
Yes, I don't know when we're going to find time to do all these different projects. One thing after another. It'll take us 10 years.
So another thing is behind us, the rickety arbor, which was one of the first things I built here. It's a bit pants really. So it's not held up well in the weather, so it's very rickety now, and we planted it primarily for kiwis, which we thought would grow really well, and they did not, and they all died. So we're going to take that down as part of the restructuring of the fruit garden, but we're going to use each of the 4 panels for trellising for beans or tomatoes, so that'll be reappropriated. in the redesign of the fruit forest, which will be a whole nother project.
Yep.
When the sun is not so roasting like today.
I think also going forward, I'm going to do more successional sowing. So instead of, see, in England, I would have just sown a big batch of seeds like I did, and you stick them in the ground, then you wait until it's time to harvest them, you harvest them, and that's the end of your year. And then you have to wait through autumn and winter before you can get going again. But here it's very different. I think I could have kept on sowing each month, another batch, another batch, another batch. And then you continually, some things die from the heat or the bugs get them or something, but then you can just yank that out. You've got a space and you've got seedlings ready and they go straight in. I think I could have filled our beds a lot more than I have this year. I've been leaving space for things to get big and it hasn't really happened.
A good example of that is you'll have noted all our sunflowers of all different sizes. We pretty much sowed most of those around the same sort of time, and then we had a month, maybe 6 weeks, where the whole garden, the top of the land, was absolutely stunning. All the sunflowers were in flower.
Yeah.
And then although the sunflowers do put out several heads, they tend to do a big flower, then they concentrate on their seeds. So as you can see, they're all kind of done with flowering.
All did.
But if we'd have applied the same planting of succession on sunflowers, we could have had sunflowers for maybe 3 or 4 months all flowering at different times.
And now we know.
Now we know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to make it a bit easier, I might designate a certain day of the week. Every Monday is seed planting day, and then you go out and sow a small batch of lots of different types of things. And if you just keep doing that,
and then the next week you re-sow so that when they're all ready, you've got one lot to go in, and then the next week another lot to go in, and then you've got a much bigger harvesting time.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the exciting bit.
It is exciting.
We can finally tell you what the most exciting thing is that we're about to do on the land.
Very exciting for us and also for Rosie. So we're up at the shade house, and this area here is on our border. So you can see the rocks here is our border. So the plan we have, which is very exciting, is here we're going to build a outdoor kitchen.
Yay!
So as I mentioned earlier with the bathroom and shower, it's too hot to work down there and probably will be for the next 6 or 8 weeks. Whereas this area is quite often in the shade. So we brought the mitre saw up and we're going to start the outdoor kitchen build today.
Yes, it's going to have a very, very simple construction because we have a minimal budget and we just wanted it to be fairly simple and a bit rustic. So we're going with Euro pallets, 3 of them on the floor, covered in little slats of wood to make a sturdy base, and 3 of them along the back standing upright. And then what are we going to fit in there? We're going to have a oven with 4 hob burner and
a sink.
And a sink. So you can do cooking, you can do washing up, and then cupboards. You're going to make lots of cupboards, aren't you?
Yep. So the plan was, as Missy mentioned, with budget. So we've been focusing on what part of the infrastructure on the land can generate us an income to make the land hopefully pay for itself. So the idea is the outdoor kitchen can be put open for workaways or people that are staying in tents or don't have facilities. They can do their cooking here, or maybe we can cook for them and offer that as a facility as well.
Couldn't do that from the van because the van's only got a 2-ring burner and no oven at all. So at least with all this, we can cook for lots of people, can't we?
We can.
That'd be really nice to be able to offer that. Come and stay at the Wildlands and have dinner cooked for you.
Absolutely. So we've set ourselves a budget 400 to 500 euros for the entire build, which is going to be pretty tight. So the way that we're going to realise that is obviously using the pallets for the foundations, as Missy mentioned, and then all of the cabinets, which will be roughly standard kitchen size, I'm going to make out of leftover wood that I already have, and all of the cupboards, the fronts, the backs, the floors of the kitchen units are going to be made out of pallet wood. So we're going to reuse Martin's pallets, as I mentioned earlier, for cupboard doors. And then we've got a few extra pallets arriving later this week, hopefully enough to finish off the unit. So it's going to be L-shaped, so there's going to be a piece here sticking out in front of the shade house, and then the wood burner will go back in its situation there.
Yep, and then you've got cookerish here with some countertop there as well.
Yep.
And then the sink, and the sink is being positioned here so that it can be under this lovely tree, and we're going to hang a water barrel from the branch of the tree to have gravity fed water into the sink, and then grey water collection underneath that will then go off to be used around our trees.
So it's a 3-stage build. So stage 1 is the budget build. We just want to get the oven working,
yep,
and be able to wash up outside using gravity, so we don't have to put in any expensive plumbing or...
I tell you what, not everybody will know about these ovens, because I didn't before we came here and I saw somebody else. We can have an oven on our off-grid land because it comes with a gas bottle. It's really standard out here in Portugal, isn't it? So you just have a gas bottle and then you take it to the shop where they do the gas bottles, and you get yourself a new one and you plug it back on, and we don't have to have, you know, gas pipes.
No, absolutely. So yes, a budget build.
Yeah.
So stage 1 is getting a working oven, getting the units made as cheaply but as quirkily as possible.
Yep.
And getting a gravity fed sink so that we don't have all the plumbing to buy for pumps and solar to run the pumps and so on. Stage 2, because this will be completely open to the elements in the winter, so in the winter we'll cover it over when it's a rainy season, and then in the summer, I mean, we haven't had rain for what, 2 months, 3 months nearly?
Yeah.
So it can be outside all the time, but then next year we're going to extend the roof of the shade house about 1.5 meters
all the way
here,
down there,
all the way down there, and then we're going to use the same telegraph poles that we're using for the stilts on the bathroom and shower, and that we used on our triangular table, to have this whole area shaded with shade netting. So that's going to be
nice.
The roof here will keep the rain off the cooker, and then the shade netting will mean that the whole of the table area will be shaded throughout the whole day.
Yeah, the bonus of being out here is you get more breeze than you do in the shade house, so you'll have a variety of places to sit if you've come to visit us.
Absolutely.
It's not all just for us.
So starting this today, aren't we?
Yes.
So we're off into town in a minute, and we're going to go and hopefully buy the cooker
and the gas bottle and everything.
The gas bits, and then we're going to go off to the DIY shop and get a sink.
Yep.
And a tap.
Yep.
And then go to the farm shop and get some barrels to hold the wastewater, come up with a gravity fed hang it off the tree system.
How exciting. I'll tell you who's the most excited. It's not either of us. It's Rosie.
Yep.
She loves to bake, and at the moment we use an Omnia oven on our stove top, which is fantastic, and she does do little bits of baking, but nothing beats a whole full-sized oven really. She's promised us we're going to get cakes and cookies and all sorts all the way through the winter, which is fantastic.
Is exciting. I like a cake and cookie.
Oh yeah. And I'm looking forward to roast dinners and have Christmas dinner with multiple trays and pizzas. And have pizzas.
Yep. So the plan on making Wildlands work for itself. So we've got outdoor kitchen. So if we have people in tents, they've got cooking facilities. So that should be completed, all being well, depending on my back, in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
The bathroom and shower, when that is done and finished in the autumn, will mean that, again, for people without facilities, we'll have composting toilet in a separate room with a basin, and then a fully functioning shower room stroke bathroom with hot running water all year long.
Nice.
And then the pantry, which we told you about before, is for food storage, for excess food that we grow on the land, for having a fridge and a freezer at a later date. So from a person visiting the Wildlands perspective, we'll have all of the facilities. You can cook, you can go to the toilet, you can have a shower.
Nice little park ups with a variety of in the communal area or tucked out the way.
And then another thing that we are doing, which I haven't seen anyone else do yet, and I'm sure it'll become more common, but we have a big problem with the internet here. So whilst we get internet, it's a bit crap really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when we want to upload a YouTube video, if we're on the land, it takes about 6 to 8 hours. So whilst that's not a problem per se, if you lived in a house, the biggest problem with us is that those 6 to 8 hours it takes to upload is using power from our solar batteries to run the laptop to upload it, and quite often we don't have enough power to do the upload. So we're putting Starlink in. So it's got a number of benefits. So firstly, obviously it means our YouTube videos be super fast to upload.
We can do lives.
We can do lives, yeah, which is really exciting.
We've tried twice before and they've just been terrible.
Yeah.
Patchy,
Yeah,
reconnecting, spoils the flow, so I'm looking forward to that.
And from a monetary point of view, two really good things. The first one is that the monthly subscription to Starlink is less than what we're currently paying for our data, which is crap and slow. And secondly, it means that in the park up at the beginning of the land that we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we could get a digital nomad in who can use our high-speed connection for their work, or other people parking on the land, so that's really exciting. So it's all part of creating a kind of hub. We don't want to be a campsite. People have said in the past, so you're going to be a campsite. It's nothing like a campsite.
Yep.
We're looking at getting people over who are looking to buy land, that maybe want to find out what it's like to experience living off-grid.
Yeah.
Looking at having facilities so we can get workaways in to help us farm the land, keep the land clear and so on, which is good for the land. So it's all going to come under farming support. We're going to register as farmers.
Yes.
So it's all very exciting. So Starlink's like, way.
Yes, yeah, Starlink, kitchen, nice communal area. It's fun. We like having people to stay. We've had so many people over already who've just wanted to pop by and meet us or see what we've done here. We'll use it as a base because there's a big campsite in Castelo Branco that's been shut ever since we've been here. There's a tiny little one, but there's not much else, is there? So a lot of people have liked to come and stay with us while they're looking for land.
So the other exciting thing is by having the facilities, so Starlink, toilet, shower, more parking, it means that we can do things on the land such as hold courses.
Oh yes.
So we might do courses on why you should live off grid, how to start a YouTube channel, how to garden in a drought and so on. But it also means that in the local community we can hold meetups. So we might be having, say, a children's day, and then because we've got a toilet, it means that people can come round with their children and we can have play days, art days, things for younger children, older children. So you're excited about that, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice also to do other things. You know, get somebody in that knows how to do, I don't know, macrame, and then other people can come and pay a small fee to learn how to do macrame, and we can do a lunch and just have little day things to start with, maybe building up to retreats.
I don't know what macrame is.
It's knotting bits of string to make them look pretty.
Oh, nice, yeah. So all very exciting on the Wildlands.
It is, lots and lots of projects keeping us very, very busy, as we like.
So I shall film the build of our budget outdoor kitchen, and as usual it's all planned out in my head. So I'm going to get cracking on that after we've been into town, and we can get our gas cooker.
Yeah.
So if you've got any ideas, any thoughts, any questions, or if you want to stay on the Wildlands, drop us a comment or reach out to us on email.
Or no, just pop in here just at the end that if you're wondering about our well, it's not 100% done yet. We're still getting water out of it, we're still getting mud out of it, but it's an ongoing process.
And also so many people have messaged or commented about my back. So thanks very much for thinking about me. It's still not 100%, but I'm walking about now. I'm not hobbling so much like an invalid. So I can't really do a lot of lifting, so I'm taking it easy. So Missy's going to be helping me lift stuff for the kitchen build, and I'm going to be doing my woodwork as usual.
Yep.
Exciting times at the Wildlands, another week as we say.
Yep.
And thanks as always for watching, and
your comments.
And your comments.
And subscribing.
And make sure, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button so that you can stay in touch and follow our adventures.
And thanks to everybody that's bought us coffee this week. That was very much appreciated.
It was indeed.
I didn't spend it on coffee, so I might have spent it on wine.
Don't tell them about the wine.
Buy us a wine.
And then in the last video we mentioned that we went over to Patreon, and thanks very much for everyone that started following us on Patreon.
Yes, we have patrons.
I know, it's mad, isn't
That's
it?
amazing. Yeah, that's wonderful.
And that really does help us out in the Wildlands. So everything from buy us a coffee and Patreon goes straight back into our projects on the land. So it is really, really appreciated.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching.
I'll see you next week. Bye.